And we are live. Hey, there we go.
Hey, welcome everybody. Hey guys,
Hey, how's it going? How's it going? I'm having.
doing good. Welcome everyone to Table Talk RPG, the show where we talk about RPGs.
We
Yeah,
talk
I know,
about
right? That's
things
yeah.
related to games.
Love it. Well done. So I would like to first say thank you to everybody that has been commenting and coming into the Discord
Yep.
channel. We're gonna have links to that somewhere, right, guys? Somewhere we
Yeah,
have
it's
links to
somewhere.
that.
It's down
Somewhere in
there.
there.
It's down
And
there. It
thank
says
you so much.
Discord.
Oh, I need.
Awesome.
I need to. I need
So
to put it on the Twitters.
Yeah,
yeah,
put it on the Twitters.
I need to
put it
put
on
it.
those Twitter sisters. We're not affiliated with Twitter.
Yes, we are.
Now, in the in the spirit of dialogue and everything that makes gaming great, which is the sharing part, right? The camaraderie, the sharing of ideas and stories. Please come into our server, talk to us. The show, as you know, or the stream, as you may prefer to call it, is a way for us to give you a window into the stuff that happens every day in our Discord server. So that's where the real action is. Come into our server, say hi, talk, and tell us how wrong we are on everything we say. How about that, huh? So it's a good thing. So I mean that's it today, as every Thursday, and probably going forward, maybe not even on Thursdays, whenever we can stream. We just talk about things that we feel are pretty great and sweet and happening in our RPG lives. And let's go into it, guys. Hi, here we have Ghost, the host.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, I'm still dealing with the Twitch with the Twitch
That's
with the
fine.
Twitter. With the
We
Twitter.
have Ghost the host, and we have
There we
Savvy
go.
the
I'm done.
Savvy the. I don't know what to. I don't have a word, but we have Savvy here. We have Ghost. We have myself, Amaxio. How are you guys doing? How are you doing, Savvy?
Good. I'm tired.
Awesome.
That's it.
Tired? That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Um,
cool. You've been running a thing, right? Talk to us a little bit about.
Well, I've been running Brindlewood Bay, but I didn't get to run it this week. So that's really sad. But it worked out because even though I'm the one that pulled the plug on it for this week, two other people wouldn't have been able to make it anyway.
Oh,
So, and when you only have four players, you know,
Yeah, it's
not
it's not
worth.
the same. Although there are systems that can be played very well with two players.
What
Yeah.
about two players and no GM?
Hey,
actually,
actually, about that.
Actually,
Actually,
Ironsworn.
on that note, yes, Iron Sword, and guys, go check out the Kickstarter for Iron Sword Starforged. It's
Yep.
amazing.
No
Give it a
affiliation
look.
whatsoever. Yeah.
Not affiliated at all, but I wish we were because that's such a great system.
Such a great game.
Um, so scheduling is nothing can. And again, I hope for the very absolute best for your campaign, but scheduling is the one thing, right, that sometimes gets exactly wedges itself in the middle of a campaign and can
Kill it.
definitely,
Make
yeah,
it
can
to death.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not what's gonna happen,
No, no,
to be
no. I
honest.
have a very dedicated group of passionate players, and
Yeah.
they would not let it die.
So here,
Very
So,
cool.
so that actually brings me to a good point. I've heard in another podcast, and I think we talked about it briefly somewhere here and there. The podcast, Gaming MBS, go check them out. Really cool people.
Amazing people, Sean and
Uh,
Brett.
they're really cool. No affiliation. We talk on the Twitters a little bit, and I've talked to Sean directly. Yeah, they're really cool people. It's a really cool podcast.
The coolest.
Anyway, so they did an episode on like RPG groups, right? And they mentioned, I think it's a Brett that has this long group that has been to they have been together for the past like 20 to 30 years. Same people. In and out, maybe yeah, yeah, in and out some players, but and I forget what they call them. They call them the
The
they have
group,
they have a
they have a name for the group.
yeah, they have a running joke of like the best gaming group or something. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. So they know each other. So it's not everybody has that, right? I don't I've known very few people that actually have that kind of thing. But I think in this day and age, and I mentioned this to actually, in this day and age, an RPG group, especially now with situations that's going on around the world, it's really hard to have an actual like group. So I think this is where things like well, Google Plus, where when it was a thing, I loved it for
Rest
RPG
in
stuff.
peace. It's
Rest in
such
peace.
a such a
Such a
loss.
good
What a loss.
so good. And like Discord and all these other platforms that are communities. They create communities, and I think in this day and age, communities are a little bit could be. And I'm not saying they are. Somebody joined in. On
Oh, yeah, it's our friend. Our
It's
friend.
yeah
it's Bella.
That's Bella.
yeah
Hey,
hey
hey Bella, can you watch from the Twitch stream? Oh, no, you're not
and
sure.
go.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. So
Shout out, hey Bella.
yeah, hey, Bella. So she actually a player from to Savage campaign, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
she plays a southern lady, and she's really funny, and I
Cool.
love her.
So what I was saying is that, and that actually brings me to my point. You have a very cool and a very excellent group because I played with some. I think half your players. I played with them. I've run for them, and they're awesome players. And I think it's something that today is very important in not just finding a group, but I think a community is even more important
Yeah,
because when those days that you don't have a group that for some reason some other players can't make it right, you have a community that know each other, that play well with each other, that have played different games and all that stuff, and you can put a shout out in the Discord or whatever system you're using, and that way you can find players, right? But you know they're going to be reliable good players because you've already built this community, based out on trust, on
and that is exactly what we have been trying to build
yes.
at
Yes,
Roll
actually,
for
let me fix
All
Gaming,
for
but it
gaming.
is
one second.
so difficult
It
because
is.
not
It is difficult.
only is it hard to find players who want like who are
Better.
genuinely interested in like the sport of tabletop role
Hmm.
playing, like, and not just I'm here for D&D and that's it. Like it's really hard to find players who want to
Hmm.
engage with different
Yeah,
things,
and
run different things,
and we can
and also
caveat, right? There's nothing wrong with D&D, right? Before just
no, that's not what I
it's
mean though.
just
But at Roll for Gaming, we like, in my personal view,
mhm.
I want to grab people who want to experience tabletop role playing,
Okay.
not just hold themselves into one system and just wait for that to be run.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it is. It is.
because that community is like not fairly, it's fairly non-existent right now.
Yeah,
Finding a
yeah. It's
community like
if you
that.
go if you go to the dark world of the interwebs, which is Reddit and all these websites, you can find looking for group like subreddits and forums and all that stuff.
But then that's kind of a crapshoot, isn't it? Like sometimes you don't know exactly what you're going to get,
Exactly.
and people and this is not something against people being different. It's more about some people have views that may not align with what you want
Hmm.
for your table.
Yeah.
And on that note, having a good table is a gift that you should treasure.
It's a
However,
treasure.
yeah,
Hmm.
you should. You should. However, I also want to speak against. Look at the word I'm using. It wouldn't be me if I'm not controversial, right? But
Hmm.
I would like to speak a little bit against holding too much to a table that may not be healthy. And I want to bring that as a topic. There are tables out there. And by the way, for the uninitiated, for the people who are new to the hobby, we sometimes refer to our group as our table, right? It's kind of like a very hobby centric term that we
Yeah.
use.
Hobby
Uh,
lingo.
hobby lingo, right? Um, so sometimes uh, there are tables where there may be one, hopefully just one, hopefully none, but sometimes you have one, sometimes even more elements that may be a little toxic, maybe less than ideal, but yet we put up with it we kind of
Hmm.
tolerate
Yeah.
only because we would not have a game otherwise. Well, I'll be the first one to encourage you to please get out of that. There is no game is worth your emotional mental health. No game is worth sacrificing that. So if you're part of a table that is overall really good, but has elements that you may feel slightly uncomfortable with, that is enough grounds for you to attempt to find something else. Please don't leave the hobby. Please don't think that all tables are like that, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes
that's a.
when you come
Mhm.
into the hobby for the first time, you have this idea that this is what all tables are like. No, trust me, there is a table out there of full of people that are going to be amazing for you. Don't stick around. Ghost and I would know what it means to stick around sometimes in places that are less than ideal,
Ah,
especially when you're giving a little bit of your time, right? I mean, your
mhm.
time is precious. You are precious. So hold yourself to the highest standard when it comes to the tables that you join. And once you find one, though, once you find a really good one, it is it's not me trying to quote a precedent. It's not me trying to quote a precedent here, but also if you find a good table, help build it further. Okay, don't just passively belong to it. Like also try to work with that really good table that you found to make it even better. Bring things to the table, literally. Participate, engage. Because trust me, trust us, a good table is a gift, dude. Seriously,
Yeah,
it's one of the best things you
it
can
is a
have.
gift, and the thing is that what we're trying to do is not just it's a gift to have a table, but I think it's an even bigger gift if you have a lot of tables like that in a community like
Absolutely.
that. Again,
Um,
it's kind of like one of those utopia kind of things, right? It might happen, it might not. It's a
I
dream that we
mean,
all hope to achieve.
been
Um,
working on it since August.
I know.
To be fair, the people that we do have, but the statistics are absolutely mind-blowing because we could have 100 members, yet there's maybe 10, a tenth
Right?
of our members. And that's nothing against if you're a member and watching and you don't play or run games. It's fine, whatever. You do you. Because we might not be running something that you want to play, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But what, like, my vision is that one day there will be
Yeah, Sally, preach, Sally, preach.
there will be a Discord server full of people who are so passionate about games that they're also running them, and it's not just me and Ghost. Would be nice. Although we do have two more potential GMs who want to run games in the server, which is
We do.
besides you, three more with you, one day.
I am an edge case. I am a special GM. I'm a special GM.
Education.
Yeah, it's just hard to find people who want to play, and it's not only hard to find them, it's hard because it's hard to advertise. Because I can't go and plug our server
Yeah.
everywhere
Server etiquette, right?
because of server etiquette, and
Yeah.
so I get around that by running one shots and then going and plugging
Yeah.
those instead, and then saying come join our server.
Yep. Yep.
But you
Yep.
gotta do what you gotta do. I've got a dream.
When you have a good table, it's a good thing. But just like Ghost said, when you have a group of tables, you are going to find that things from certain people are going to enrich games elsewhere. Sometimes you might see a player and learn from them because playing is also a bit of an art, isn't it? Playing is not just the GM who's a creator of experiences. The players are also
Mhm.
creators of experiences, right? So sometimes you might see a player in a game kind of do a thing that you're like, wait a minute, I can do that, or that could probably make my game
AKA
awesome.
Ghost in every one of the games that I've run that he's been in.
Yeah, and
Like,
and
I'm gonna do this.
yeah, and then you can kind of bring those ideas back to your own, like to your kind of main table, if you will, and then bring kind of enrich cultural enrichment, right? Like when you're a student and you go to some other country to study, it's kind of very enriching when you kind of learn about other cultures and whatever. Well, every table has a culture, and you can learn a lot from the
Oh
way
yeah,
that games
totally.
are run elsewhere. So that's pretty sweet, pretty awesome.
I want
Yeah, about
to loop back around real
yeah.
quick to the table toxicity. that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Because you only touched on the player side, but if you're a GM of a table and there's a person at that table who is not adhering to the etiquette or the social construct or the session zero stuff that y'all have set down, then for the sake of your players, you have to like kind of get over that anxiety because it brings a lot of anxiety of making people unhappy. Um, get over that anxiety for the sake of your players who aren't causing a problem and like confront the player that is because I've had to do that and it's not fun.
No, it's not
And
fun.
I've
It's
also
never,
been on the
it's never
player
fun.
side where I've dropped out of a game because I was so uncomfortable with another player. And
So
the GM was really upset that he hadn't like addressed it sooner, but I just tried to cope with it because I'm like the middle child, I'm like the peacekeeper. I'm like it's fine. I just
Mhm.
want to play the game. So I'll take what's coming at me, but it's really uncomfortable and I don't like it. And then I ended up quitting the game and the game fell apart.
yeah.
So,
So that's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of factors, right? Not nothing. No group ever falls apart because of one single thing, right? There's
yeah.
always gonna be more than one. There's always, and then yeah,
Yeah.
actually, there's more than.
Listen, interestingly, you can have a wonderful relationship with individual members of a group, but sometimes when all of
Yeah.
them come together, things can come in that may be less ideal, less comfortable, even if individually each one of these people are amazing. And I'll tell you something, uh, out of everyone that I've ever played with, as people, they are amazing people, and I love them all. You have to be also very careful with that. Please remember that there is a difference between the player and the person, and that's a very important distinction. When
Hmm.
somebody is a player, they're engaging in an activity in which they are kind of they have a persona, right? They're your player persona, and your, but as people, everyone has value, everyone has worth, and we need to understand that even though we're different, we may have different quirks. Um, those may make a table less ideal, probably sometimes even a little toxic, but it's not always necessarily on purpose, and it's not always necessarily a factor of this person who is acting in a way that is less than ideal being a bad person inherently. Maybe they're not.
Hmm.
So that's very important. Yeah,
Like it all has to do with player etiquette and
yeah.
the expectations that the GM sets out for what they expect from their players, like behavior at the table. Like
Mhm.
just because you're behaving a certain way at the table doesn't make you an inherently bad person, but it does make you not fun
So
to play
so
with.
so on that, I read on a Discord server. I honestly forget the name of the person, and I apologize for this. I swear to God, this is not mine. No, it was a Twitch actually, and I know who it is now. Yeah, it is from Tabletop Bellhop. So he's a very good friend of the Gaming MBS, Sean and Brett. I think he has his own website. Check it out. It's really cool. He does like a bunch of deals on Amazon and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so he said in one of the Twitch streams that they were doing, the Gaming MBS was doing, he said that expectations session zero is good, but throughout the campaign or throughout the game, you should revisit that to make sure that everything is still on point on the GM side and the player side, which I think that is
Because
a
we're
very
human. Because we're
that is
human.
very very valuable information to know
Yeah.
and to use, right? So every few, like every couple of, however long the adventure is, every so often, like you should, hey, are we playing what we set out to do? Are we doing what we set out to do? What we were expected to do? And I think that's a good point to tell your group, like, hey, we're gonna do this in session zero, but so often, hey, let's go back to it and try to see, maybe it's changed. I don't know, maybe it has changed depending on how the group feels about each other and all that stuff. So yeah.
Especially people who may be so hungry for a game that
Hmm.
during session zero they claim to be okay with this
Yep.
and that and the other, but it was only because they were so hungry to get a game going. and then halfway through they kind of revert back after their hunger has been satisfied. They kind of revert back to their kind of like usual modus operandi, and then they do something. You're like, oh, kind of falls outside of what we agreed on. I'm I don't want to say I'm pretty certain, but more often than not, dialogue will fix it. However, at the risk of sounding controversial, and I promise this is not me trying to be gatekeepy or anything. I welcome actually any comment that you may have about anybody who's out there and wants to come into the server and talk about this, and kind of put me in my place if in case I'm wrong, which very likely that I am. But um, so GMing is something that I wish everyone would do, but that doesn't mean that we are all immediately ready until we have not ready. Let me not use that word. That we are already there without certain things. What are those certain things? I believe that a GM should work hard to develop leadership skills, specifically in the area of conflict resolution. Now,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
when you are a GM, you are choosing to put on a mantle of leadership. You're driving the car. You're driving.
So
It's
I
you.
would not be able to DM without my experience as a teacher.
There we go.
Not
so
gonna lie.
so I put this. I wrote this on Twitter. It was a while back. It was I think it was like a month or two ago. Somebody posted that, hey, I'm having problems in my group and I'm having to deal with it. I'm the GM, so I'm talking to these people, problematic people, and I made a comment which received a lot of likes. Was a funny thing how RPG to this hobby, we are the most introverted people and we have to deal with the most difficult social aspect of humanity, which is conflict resolution. And I'm like, it is true. That is true. Those are the things you just don't. You're in here to have a good time, but then when something breaks, it really breaks, and you have to learn how to deal with those issues. Thankfully, my time in the military has actually helped me to deal with those kinds of things. Um, so because we're all adults, unless you're
Hmm.
under 18, right? Um, but yeah, so we have to learn how to do that. We have to learn how
We
to.
do, and actually, interestingly, by the way, I fully agree with Savvy on her comment. Of the things we do, and with Ghost, that sometimes our vocation, the things we do professionally, can help us.
Yeah.
However, it is, and it's not a however as in there's a counterpoint. Is in addition to what you're saying, it is very important to remember that contrary to some other situations, your players are not your subordinates, and your tone is
Yeah,
very
yeah.
important. So when you are trying to repair to kind of help in situations,
Yeah.
uh, being the GM comes with the sometimes difficult to differentiate uh,
Some,
kind of persona that puts you in
some
a position where
some people go on a power trip. You can say it. Some.
okay, fine, yes, that's exactly where I was going. You are a GM, you're driving, but that doesn't mean that you're the boss. That doesn't mean that you have all the answers. As a matter of fact, you are just as likely to be wrong as your players are. So it's not a
Especially
matter,
if you
yeah,
don't know the system that you're running.
especially so. I know, and Ghost and I will take a little bit of pride in this. Ghost knows, and Ghost can vouch for what I'm about to say. But Ghost knows that whenever we have conversations about sessions that I've run, I'll be the first one to say, "Oh my God, how did I screw up?" Like I will always try to see, it's on me, it's on me, it's on me, which is interesting. But the fact is that there's an equal chance that everyone on the table may have contributed to the issue.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to solve it, you should not take a position of I am right and you are wrong. That's just not how conflict resolution works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Problem is that you can't look at a conflict in an RPG table. You cannot look at it as you judging something that is besides yourself. No, you are as much a part of that situation as everybody who's involved because it is part of your table. That's to kind of put a little bow tie around this idea. Um, I think this is something that I want to bring up in future dates, because now we don't want to talk too much about this. Um, the fact is that we should make a distinction between what it takes to be a GM versus what it takes to be, uh, I don't want to say a good GM, but rather an effective GM. I think that's the best word.
Yeah.
So a lot of products that we purchase, we were having a conversation about that the other night. Um, a lot of the products that we purchase will, as it's their job to do, kind of sell themselves to you, saying, "Play our system. It's the easiest system to run. Anybody could run it. Anyone in the universe can grab this book and run a game this very evening." Well, these claims may not be inherently wrong, but we do need to qualify that there are things that may need to be developed in order for your table to look like those tables that you spend time watching on YouTube. And you guys know which tables I'm talking about. There are a lot of shows on YouTube, where you see these wonderful games being run by wonderful GMs with wonderful players, and you think, oh my God, this is perfect. This is exactly what I would love my game to look like. And then you run the thing yourself and you go, it went nothing like those shows that I'm watching, right?
Yeah, yeah.
These people that are running these games are professionals. The players are more often than not actors. And not only that, guys, and this is a little behind the scenes thing for those of you who are, by the way, I'm addressing those of you who are new, very new to this.
Hmm.
Clearly, I'm not patronizing or implying that you guys don't know, because if you've spent more than X amount of time in this hobby, you can speak more to this than I can. The fact is that there's a lot that's happening before the show goes live. A lot of the situations you're seeing in the game were actually rehearsed, and they were actually planned, and they were actually agreed on.
That's
Before,
like telling me that reality TV is scripted, okay? You're
wait, it
calling
is?
it reality
What?
TV.
What?
I know, right?
What?
People are crazy. Who would have thought?
And
That
it's
stuff
and it's
actually happens in people's lives.
I mean, YouTube views bring in revenue. These people are not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. It's some people are. Don't, please let me fix that. Some people are, but the fact is that if you're seeing a show with incredible production values, I'm not immediately saying that they're out just for the commercial side of it, but please look at it with a little bit of, not suspicion, but look at it as, hey, maybe this is something that is actually has been planned. So please don't compare your table to theirs, and please understand that even if you buy a game that says you can run this tonight, that does not mean that by that evening you'll be running an experience that feels as tight as the things you see on YouTube. For board games, is a bit easier, right? Like, it's kind of hard. It's kind of difficult to run to run Monopoly wrong. It's kind of difficult to run Jenga wrong. But an RPG has so many elements and so many things
I
that really require some skills.
I
Some
think
people put it
it's
in the resume.
yeah,
You guys
yeah,
aware that some people put
yeah.
being a GM on the resumes? I don't know
Yeah.
how well that works for them.
Hey,
I
they
should
don't
try it.
because it doesn't say being a GM. It says uh
Conflict resolution, group management, leadership.
Organization
Yeah,
skills,
yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need, right?
yeah.
improv,
And
voice
if
Improv.
acting.
So
you're a player under your skills, you say taking down a beholder or taking down an
so
owl
also
bear.
you might get into a table, right? Let's say you get into an actual table and you have a really good experience. I've had those. Like my first time playing in a dungeon world, which got me to it, I was playing a ranger. Was it a ranger or a thief? I think it was a thief. But I played it like a ranger because I, instead of a knife, and like I was using bow and arrow and stuff like that. And the way that the GM explained and ran the game, I felt like I was in a movie and I was Green Arrow. They called me the Green Arrow in the game. It was a fantasy game, but that's what they called me, right? And but the thing is, I talked to the GM afterwards, and I said, "Hey, man, this was really good. Thank you for showing me this game." But I mean, at the time, right, I was kind of new to games. So at the time, I was like, "Hey, thank you for this is an awesome game." And so also, those type of things, they sometimes they come naturally, but most of the time it's because of the experience that the GM has. It's
Yeah.
the experience that they have of running games for so many years, that actually helps. Sometimes it helps more than having like acting background or something like that, because there are nuances that you never prepare for, right? And I'm not saying that acting is not, it's not good. I'm saying it actually helps. It's good that you have that if you have that background, but I don't. I don't have that kind of background. But I played a lot of different games that allow me to kind of adjust on the fly certain things, and it lets me, roll with the punches. Certain things, not all of them, right? But
Mhm.
just being honest with yourself, if you're trying it out, I didn't know it was gonna be good, but I was the one that was scouring the RPG forums of Roll20 when it came out. Like I was a member. Roll20 came out in like 2012 or something like that, or 2011 or something. I've been a member since 2013. So I was the one scouring, the looking for group forums, and like, hey, you need to play. Hey, I want to play. I want to play. I had that drive, that thirst, that hunger to play games. And yeah, I had crappy tables. I had really good tables. I had short sessions. I had long, like, adventures. But I was always there to learn as a player. And then when I started running things, I did the same thing. Hey, I want to run this. Okay, I got one, two, three, four. All right, let's go, everybody. I didn't care who they were, because at the time I didn't know about all those nuances, section zero. Psh, psh, come on, I didn't
You just
even
had the hunger. You had the hunger
I
for
didn't
the
even
game.
I didn't even do that, and that led to some things. Like, I had one of the things that opened my eyes was PvP. Like, straight on PvP happened between two players. It was playing Dungeon World. One was a thief and one was a paladin. And the thief wanted to steal stuff from people. And the paladin was, if you do that, I will beat you. And he tried to do it anyway, and he beat it, and he ended up killing the thief. And I'm like, well, I flipped the table, figuratively, because it was online. I flipped the table. I'm like, you guys suck. It was my fault because I didn't do a good job of managing that situation. But we're not gonna play anymore because this is not what I signed up for. And I cut it, and we left it, and never played with them again. So, and but that's some stuff you have to go through in order to learn and to grow up. I'm not saying go looking for it, but when it happens, don't push it to the side and say, no, I'm not going to deal with this. No, right? Because more often than not, you're going to run into it again. And
Yeah,
if
embrace it and learn from it
embrace it,
and
just
And
make it
learn
a
from
part
it.
of your.
assume
Yeah.
that the situation will resolve itself. It won't.
No.
It
And that's what I did. That's what I did. I was like, are you sure you want to do that? I was like, well, if he does it, this is what I'm going to do. I'm like, well, and here's the thing. Oh, this is what my character would do. And I'm like, and I didn't know what that meant because I was new. So I didn't know what that meant. Now I do, of course. And now I shut that shit right out. I just stopped that right out of the gate. Oh, this is my character. No, no, bull crap. No, that's not how we play. So yeah, so they did that, and I'm like, you know what? This sucked. From the GM's perspective, I was like, this actually sucked, and but it's something that I learned, and yeah, I don't.
so the more you and I think I can bring like a metaphor from RL, which is talent will give you beautiful spikes in life. Like you'll be able to do things suddenly wonderful. Like if somebody has natural talent for something, you'll see them do something like amazing. However, practicing something, training, taking the time to hone your craft
Yep.
is going to make those spikes turn into a more constant line that you can have repeatable results. How does that apply to GMing? Is don't just rely on just don't rely on having gone through maybe one or two great experiences. Always try to work on honing your craft is what I'm trying to say. Always try to work on getting better. Read articles, ask other GMs, do things that help you grow, because the more you develop yourself as a GM, the more enjoyable the experience can be. And I'll tell you something, role playing as a hobby is probably one of the most enriching things that somebody can do, because it allows you to experience things that in real life would be very difficult to come back from. Sometimes when we make mistakes in real life or when we go through certain situations in real life, we can't really turn
Like
back time.
like murdering your teammate.
Oh my God. It's the thing is, if you're,
Straight to
if
jail.
you're, yeah, like if you go through certain situations where you're playing RPG, you can kind of get a taste or an idea of certain things that you never knew about yourself. So going through the experience of getting better at the craft of playing and running a game can actually be an enriching thing that develops your skills in other areas of life. So, anywho, that was our little philosophy kind of.
I'm gonna tell another one. So I was a player in this. I think actually I told you this. I was a player in somebody put a thing. It was back in my again. I ran and played Dungeon World for a long time. So this was back in my Dungeon World days. I somebody posted a thing. They wanted, hey, I'm gonna run a campaign. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I had time. I was like, yeah. I didn't have my son at that time, so and I had time. So I said, yeah, that's fine. Let's do it. What do you want to do? Hey, Saturdays, evening or whatever, or it was afternoons. I don't remember. And they said, hey, what I'm going to do is because there's a lot of shady people out there, I want to have a one-on-one interview with you, with each player, just to make sure they're good fit for the
And if
group.
your gut says no, listen to your gut.
Yeah.
'Cause I
So
didn't.
so the GM did an interview with all of us, with me too, and they said, yeah, hey, I think you're a good fit. They asked me some questions about how much experience I had and blah blah blah. And okay, so game starts. All right, so we started. This was second session, not first. Second session. So game started, and I had this character in mind. And second session comes out, and she did not know. She did not tell us. This was my first. I did not know this at the time that this was a thing at GMPC. I did not know this was a thing. All right, so she's like, "Well, I have this character." I was like, "Oh, is that an NPC?" No, this is a GMPC. I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And and it's like, "Oh, it's a character that I play." I'm like, "But don't you run the world?" She's like, "Yeah, but this is a character, blah blah." Okay, hey, I didn't know. I was like, I was asking. Okay, whatever. So we started playing, and the GM knew this other player from like real life. Okay, and it was them two, and then two of us that didn't know each other. So we started playing. We started doing the role play, and we get transported into this world. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm like, you threw me in here in this world. I don't know what to do. You're not telling me it's a sandbox. You're telling me to drop me in the middle of the forest, and meanwhile, I didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, her GMPC and the other player were having a role play session between them, and I'm like, why am I here? Why am I here? And so me and the other player were like, okay, so yeah, and they were talking and doing whatever, and I'm like, okay, is anything gonna happen? Where do I go? What do I do? Because well, I already said she, but she was so focused on that GMPC
She
and what,
wanted to play.
yeah, and the GMPC, also the GMPC had, yes, Dusk, I was an audience. So the GMPC had knowledge about what was gonna happen. Not just the GM, but her character had knowledge of what was gonna
Yes.
happen in the world. And I'm like, again, at the
It's another
time,
game.
I didn't know any
Yeah.
I mean, as someone in my in my younger
better.
GMing time, I had a GMPC and I installed him because I was obsessed with railroading my players through the beautiful maps that I spent so much time on.
That. Yep.
And so they would say, "We want to skip all that because that's dangerous. So we're going to go straight through." I'm like, "Well, Ralph runs off into that dark corner. You got to get him to that." Like he was like a quest
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
It was wrong of me, but then that's whenever I decided like maybe I shouldn't do maps if I'm really obsessed and upset when my players don't Explore.
Yeah.
Actually,
So,
a small clarification for those of you out there who I adore. You guys are great. I love you. But some of you out there may be a little more, I don't know if this is a derogatory term, but grognardy? Is that a derogatory term in the hobby? Anyway,
Depends who said it
so
and who's it for.
clarifying thing. Back in the day, in certain systems, you could actually safely get away with a GMPC or a DMPC because the mechanics of the game were restrictive enough so that the GM and the DMPC was also just as subject to failure and to bad things as the player. So let's make a distinction here. If it's a narrative game, like a more, a narrative game where characters, players have more agency over their characters, then GMPCs, DMPCs are very difficult, and I would not recommend that you do that unless you have a lot of experience and have a lot of a really good ability to separate player knowledge from character knowledge.
Mhm.
If you can do that, then you know. However, in older systems, and maybe not even older, but different types of systems, especially wargaming and simulationist systems, um, somebody could have a DMPC technically if they were able to separate player knowledge from character knowledge, because when it came to encounters, no matter how good or how much the GM knew or the DM knew, if stat wise, the character could fall just as easily as any of the
Anyway,
other PCs. So that's just a little clarification for all you guys out there that are
yeah.
flipping out. Yes, if you are a GM and or a DM and you've had a GMPC or DMPC, we're not demonizing you. We're not saying you're doing it wrong.
No,
We're
no, no.
just saying that there are systems that maybe, for example, a system like Fate now, if you have a GM character, you have to be very careful because it could be a little too easy for you to steal the spotlight away
Mm,
from your players,
yeah,
and that's a big deal.
and that's what it was happening because it's Dungeon World, so Dungeon World is very narrative,
That,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
And I'm
absolutely.
and then and then after that she said, "Well, you're not really cooperating with the group, or you're not really doing integrating with the group, or doing whatever." And she decided not to include me in the games. I was like, you know what? Awesome. You have
Whoever you are, person in Ghosts GM player pass, whoever you are, we love you. We all have grown from
that's fine.
things.
That's fine.
We hope that
You
you
always,
have
from
also.
every player or GM experience, you learn something to do and
Oh,
something not to do.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
that's fine. I don't blame them. I don't. They want to play.
Yeah.
But there are board games that do exactly what you want to do, and you're a player.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Find yourself a good system that would allow you to flex your storytelling chops while at the same time also your gaming chops, such as Ironsworn. Not affiliated, but yeah, there are games out there that can help you get that done. Um,
so
as we are, you wanted to add something
oh,
else?
of course, yeah, we got about 10 to 15 minutes.
Cool.
So I'm gonna change subjects a little bit
Hmm.
because we went way off the rails for that. So
Well, as we ought to do,
as we ought to do, yes.
as we are wont to do.
So I had a question for you guys.
Hmm.
I so I'm planning on running a venture campaign, not a one shot, as I talked to
Not a one shot.
not a one shot. He said,
We
hey,
are going to campaign against that term.
yes, we are going to
well, I
campaign.
love one shot.
I know, I know. I'm just being controversial.
So,
Go on,
so,
go on,
so,
Ghost.
so the thing is, if you don't know if it's gonna be this many sessions or this long, Lynn just said,
That's
hey, just call it not a one shot, and I'm gonna stick to that term, not a one shot. It's gonna be as long
we're
as
gonna run a thing. We're gonna run a thing. Whenever you hear me say I'm gonna run a thing, don't expect a certain amount of
It's a
sessions.
multi-shot.
it's a
It's
multi.
oh nice,
Hey,
That's what I
nice.
call it.
a
There's
multi.
one shots,
Shot.
multi-shots, campaigns.
Hey, see, like Knight said, hashtag not a one shot. There you go.
Hashtag not a one shot. That's I'm
Hey.
gonna make a shirt. I'm gonna make a shirt.
So yeah. So
That's
anyway,
where Brindle would be.
yeah. So so I wanted I'm gonna run this. Ha!
Beautiful,
That's a pretty
beautiful,
book.
Yeah, it is a pretty book.
and it's an amazing book. I had a
It,
chance to, yeah, it's a
so
really good book.
yeah, the player's guide is free on drive through. So
Very
um
good.
yeah. So anyway, but it's not gonna be 5e. Ha! I am going um to run it in ICRPG, Index Card RPG,
ICRPG.
by
Shout out to Hank, not affiliated.
not affiliated, Runehammer Games. And so I had a question for you guys. So in my game, my conversion, right? Because I'm taking 5e stuff and I'm making it.
Wait.
What?
I'm sorry, completely off topic, real quick. Are we still gonna run Tales from the Loop?
Yes, but whenever we
Okay.
decide to do it, then
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Continue,
yeah, yeah.
continue. It was just attached. Wanted to
Oh, yeah.
make sure.
I know.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, that's gonna be good. That's gonna be good. And again, if we if we keep postponing, I'm just gonna cut it short and be done with it. But because we're not gonna do it.
That's a broken heart right there. That's Savvy's. I could literally see Savvy's heart just go. Hopefully not. Hopefully not,
Hopefully
Savvy.
not.
Hopefully
I
not.
don't think so. I still want to run it because I already set it up in Fari. I already set it up with you guys. We already did session 0. We already created a.
By the way, Fari, we need to plug. Listen, Fari, amazing stuff. Where can people find Fari?
Fari.app
Fari.app.
and Discord server
Fari.app.
and Discord server. Fari.app. I don't know what the link is for things.
Fari is the greatest VTT to have ever been created by any mortal, assuming that RP is a mortal. Go on.
Okay.
I don't think he is.
I don't think.
Anyways,
Yeah, probably not.
So anyway, so normally, traditional D20 systems, right? I say traditional in a very loose term. So D20 systems are designed technically to have classes, right? So so they're designed to have classes, although there are some that do not, like mutant and masterminds. I don't think that they have classes. They're point by. So my question is, can you have, so the game that I'm doing is, it assumes that you're using classes because it's based on 5e, so it assumes you're using classes, but I'm not using classes. I'm going to give you pieces of loot, which pieces of loot are going to raise your stats, right? Because that's what ICRPG is. There's no levels. It's all based
Love
on
ICRPG.
loot. It's all based on loot. So magic is also going to be semi-free form, which, and that's the thing, it's going to have a mechanical, I don't want to say consequence, but it will have some consequence. I don't know if it's yet mechanical or not, in the sense that if you want to get wild with your magic, that is going to cost you more, in the sense that, so the game that I made it is, so people are going to create their characters. You're going to have a race. You have to have a race, right? So you do have to have a race. So you do have a race, or ancestry, right? Let's get with the new age, right? Ancestry. And then you have to, because in this world is based on Greek mythology, so gods and titans are very important. So you have to pick a god or titan that you worship. They have a realm, and then your magic, if you decide to use it, is based on that realm. Okay, so every effect that you're trying to do is based on it. So for example, one of the Titan, the realm is nature, so all your magic is based on that. Like if you want to trap somebody or trap something, then you make roots grow out of the ground and try to grab
Vines start
vines.
wrapping around. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So let me see if I know where you're going. Should I have classes or not? Is that where you were going? Like, should I have classes or?
So if the way that I make it, no, because anybody can do magic. That's my thing.
Right.
Anybody can do it. So anybody can have a sword in their hand. Everybody can have magic. So what's the point of having classes, right?
Right. And down with classes. I'll be the first one. Like classes. Well, okay, go on. Sorry, I interrupted because I'm passionate about that.
It's fine. So the thing is that the gods, every time you do magic, so every single day the gods are I forgot the word that I used. But they're always either happy or sad or angry or whatever, right? So
they're very temperamental, these deities.
That's the thing. So every day you roll a d4, and that d4 will tell you how many hearts or HP, right? That's in ICRPG terms.
ICRPG parlance.
Yeah. So, and every time you cast magic, the GM chooses, do you roll a d8 or a d4, and that gives attention to the deity that you're using the magic from, because you're taking power from them to cast your magic, right? So as you gain more attention and you complete those hearts, then they put a curse on you because you've taken too much power from them, right? So that is kind of like a mechanical consequence. So depending on what kind of stuff you want to go wild, hey, let me create the famous fireball out of thin air, then that's gonna be a
Magic missile.
yeah.
Stop.
What?
Dusk wants the seven truths.
That is a good question. All right, so seven truths. You are heroes. You are not murder hobos. You are heroes on an epic quest, right? That's the first thing. Second truth. God's favors are fickle, and you have to give tribute to them, or else you're gonna get cursed. Third, you will. What's the other one? Crap. There is.
But you just got put on the spot. It's
I
really
know,
difficult for you to come up with all seven.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I will make them. I will make him.
Just
So
promise that you'll post them somewhere. That way you
I
won't.
will. It's fine. I don't. Actually, I think they have it here somewhere, so I can use that. So anyway, so
But then I wanna get to what, because I feel controversy brewing in the air here. What is it? Is it the class related thing?
so my thing is, if you put enough mechanical weight on certain things in the game, do you actually need classes, right? So for example, Pathfinder 5e, if you put mechanical weight on other things like magic and whatever, so anybody can do, you know what I mean? So so anybody can do any type of spell, put it that way. So you know that cantrips are based off of classes. That's I think in 5e. I'm not.
When everybody's a sorcerer, no one is.
So
I mean,
and that's my point. So why have classes at that point if anybody?
I think that classes, because D&D is so prolific, it's such a thing, it's such an institution. We tend to believe, or we tend to feel, that classes are a requirement. I feel better with the idea of an archetype. Now, it's not whether you can use a sword or not. It's more of how the archetype of hero that you're
Yeah.
building would use that sword.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example.
Yep.
There was this old game, not an old game, as a matter of fact, it's a current game, still current game, but it's kind of in its final days. I hope not. There's a game called Guild Wars, video game.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Oh
If,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
That.
Guild Wars, especially the second Guild Wars 2,
That was
has
pretty
a
good.
class,
That's pretty good.
an archetype called the Mesmer.
Mhm.
They also have another one, which is the Warrior. Well, guess what? They both not that they would, it's your choice, you choose your item, could use great swords. Now, how does the Warrior use it? Well, the Warrior grabs the great sword and hacks that thing. Blah, blah, blah. But the Mesmer, interestingly, he has the great sword in his back. When he's going to cast something, we see the great sword float in front of them, and then lightning shoots from the great sword.
Yeah.
So it's not whether they could use or not, it's how the archetype treats the usage of that thing. So what I think would be cool for you to take,
His narrative stuff. That's
yeah, like I feel that the way where you should take this is thinking. Now this is gonna be a bit of a challenge I'm gonna throw at you,
Uh-huh.
but think of the way that heroes were portrayed, not in the source material you're taking, which is 5th edition.
Yep.
Think of the way heroes were portrayed in classical mythological
So,
literature. So you
I'm
have homework to do now.
gonna
I
stop
need
you right
you
there.
to read the Iliad. You need to read the Aeneid.
So
What else, Javi? What else should we have him read?
The Odyssey.
The Odyssey. We need this done by next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
All three.
I'm gonna stop
All
you right
three.
there. So basically, what I created for this game are called heroic paths. So basically, depending on the whatever path they want to choose, there are some achievements that they have to do, and that will grant them milestone rewards that
Wonderful.
they'll be able to get more powerful. So there's one that's called the Herculean. I don't know how to say that.
Herculean.
Herculean.
There you go. So the way to unlock it, you have to perform feats of strength that have never been done before, or defeat enemies that threaten villages and population, right? So big things. And as you complete those, once you unlock it, then you get a specific milestone. And then yeah, and then you'll be able to, as the more things you do, as story progresses, then you'll be able to get more and more milestone rewards. Yeah. So
A constant among any player of any role-playing game is that they want an identity.
yeah.
When you remove classes, you open the gate for that identity to be expressed in a different way, such as through their choices, in the fiction. And I think that's a much more powerful way. For example, if I play a traditional game with classes and I am a sorcerer, I will do things in a sorcery way. What's going to distinguish me is that I'm doing things in a sorcery way. If I am a bard, I'm doing things in a bardy way. However, when there are no classes, when that distinction is not where the emphasis is, then it's not me doing bardy or sorcery things, it's me doing things that inevitably will give me an identity, will associate my name with a specific set of behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So by not focusing on a class and instead opening the gates for these heroes to act heroically, regardless of the way that they present their heroism, whether they do it through sneaking around and backstabbing things
Mm-hmm.
without calling it rogue, whether they do it with paladin-esque a kind of stature and their gleaming armor and their sword as they bring a book from the heavens and cast something. That is secondary. It's more about what they do because technically there are no classes. There's no way for people to latch on class tropes. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the key is. By removing classes, you're also removing the idea of a trope determining where the things are going. So it's going to feel less predictable and it's therefore going to be more fun. It's going to be much more
So,
interesting.
so here's the thing, because you are nobodies, and then
Mm-hmm.
the way the adventure is said, you're a nobody, and then
From zero to hero, right?
you're going to become this big thing, but you get to choose. I think like you have a college of poetry, like some juridic thing, and there's another one like some sort of hoplite soldier. I don't know how do you say that, and Amazonian, the
Those
Odyssean.
are the original classes or no?
No, no, those are epic heroic paths.
Ah, your heroic paths. Got it. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then which are based on the archetypes that they did.
Right, 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 right.
They did
But
archetypes.
by not calling them the archetypes or the classes, you are
Yeah.
removing preconceived notions, which is the
Yep.
problem with classes, right?
Yep.
So I support this. I'm gonna be playing in that game, so I am invested. And I beg you to please, because if you give me classes, it's gonna give me analysis paralysis as I choose which class I want to play.
Yep.
But if you don't,
Thing though,
What?
like if you go and you go into a traditional class system, and like you could go on Reddit and to like the D&D or Pathfinder is like, is this efficient? Like, is this the best? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
what if I multi-class this and this? And then you like
Yeah,
get
and
really
that's
caught up
that's the
into
thing.
creating your
Yeah.
character instead of actually playing.
Yeah. So in
be
this
fun for some people, depending
Sure,
on what they
sure,
want to
sure, sure,
do,
sure.
depending on what they
Yeah.
want to play.
That's like a
yeah.
mini game in and of
It
itself,
is a
and
meta
I'm
game,
not
yeah.
into that.
No, not
So
not your thing, not
so
your jam.
so what I like is so Lynn asks like, can you fork paths, wander back and forth? No, that's just multi-classing. No, no. You have a path because in Greek mythology, the oracle fate gave you a path, and that's the path you're gonna stick to
Oh.
because it's
And then
fate,
they cut
right?
your string.
So
And
it
because
is a class. You're just making you're dealing
but
with the class type mechanics, but without all of the negative connotations
the
of having a
thing
class.
is, you don't choose it from the beginning. You choose it as
It's your action.
it's your actions that
Okay.
determine what do you want to do. Like, and also when you build your character, when you spend the points on on your attributes and your effort, then that also kind of you already have a little bit of a mindset of what you're going for.
So let me validate if you consider Bethesda's work as validating. If you think of
So one of the creators was actually the main one of the lead designers in BioWare for that created Mass
okay.
Effect and all those.
So
Yeah.
so in this case, if you think of, I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls universe. When you compare the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion
Mm-hmm.
with 5 Skyrim, one thing that Oblivion had, I believe it was Oblivion or maybe the one before, I think it was Oblivion, had actual classes, but Skyrim does not. The idea with Skyrim is that depending on whether you use your sword a lot or you use
Yep.
magic a lot, you can choose whatever. Then you start leveling in that direction, sort of. You start getting
Yeah,
points
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in that direction. I will be completely honest. I love that because I I feel that I don't need to make a choice that later I have to go back and kind of redo. However, one thing that does happen is that eventually everybody becomes a sneaking like ranged bow user because that's the most optimum thing for that engine. So as
Mhm.
long as you don't have that in your game, that there is
No.
a clear kind of,
Oh,
because that's
no,
going to
no,
steal
no. Yeah,
spotlight,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the it is they're all completely different. They're all completely
Do
different.
they all have equal? Can they all have equal? Now, I'm not going to call it power, but are they all equally entertaining and fun and diverse and
I haven't played it. I don't know. We'll find out.
guarantee it for me? Otherwise, I won't
So
play.
so let's go ahead and have our closing thoughts.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, oh my God! I did not see the time.
Well, we
Sorry.
had planned to go 15 minutes over because we started 15 minutes late, so we're not
Truth.
technically over.
And we
But
need to
yeah, we're
be,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we need to be responsible to the people that have given us graciously their time. Thank you so much for
yeah, yeah,
listening.
yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
so much. Closing thoughts. My mine would be hone your craft. I'm gonna reduce it to that. Hone your craft. It's gonna make your games wonderful. It's gonna make your games much more enjoyable.
Yep.
You
That's mine.
will enjoy. I have picked up a subscription, not affiliated, to Scribd. That is
Yeah.
SCRIB
Oh, very
dot
cool.
Yep.
com. It is better than Audible. It is cheap, $9.99 a month, and you have unlimited access to all of their audiobook library, which is as good, if not better than Audible. And I'm gonna go start racking up some book listening in like Agatha Christie stuff so I can
Yeah, there you go.
enhance my Brindlewood Bay because I've never
Ghost
read an
needs
Agatha
this.
Christie
No.
Ghost
novel.
needs
You
this for
know,
the Iliad, Homer, like anything from Homer. Ghost
uh,
has homework.
Hey, you know
it's
what?
they're
I'm gonna,
there. Those are there.
you know what? I'm gonna watch Troy, the Brad Pitt movie. How about that? I'm gonna
Dude,
do
one of my favorites. No joke. Like this is I
It is
think
good.
I
It is
adore
good.
that
that.
movie. Jeez.
This is when Brad Pitt was a okay. Well, he
And
still
now
is.
he's old.
Well, he still is though. But he was like when him and
What a good movie. What
Eric
a good
Bana, I
movie.
think he was also
Ah, what a wonderful. Oh, everybody was great in that movie.
yeah,
I'm
he
gonna go
was,
watch it after we're done here.
except Orlando Bloom, but that's another
I was just
conversation.
about to ask, was Orlando Bloom?
Okay, okay, I will die on this hill. Orlando Bloom is underrated, and he was pretty great there. He's also
So
great in Anyway, let's go. Let's go.
no,
Let's go.
so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Orlando Bloom, best movie he's in, Lord of the Rings, because he doesn't talk. There we go. So
All
no, he's a
right.
great actor.
Your closing thoughts. Your closing thoughts.
So
Ghost.
my closing thoughts, trust your group, right? Trust them to make the right decision.
Beautiful.
And conflict resolution is not as bad as people think it is. Usually, if you're between adults, you're gonna have a conversation, and although it is hard, it is not as bad as people think. Honestly, it's not. You just have a conversation. If they can't have a conversation, then you remove yourself from the situation and let it go.
Cool.
Okay.
Savi, was script your thing? Was that your or do you have an extra?
Closing thought.
Was script your closing thing
A
or
script. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
okay?
Read about what you and we had talked about this. Read about what you want to create.
Superb.
So, and as an English lit major that I got my degree in, I don't read, you guys. I don't. I stopped reading as
Watch
soon as I
movies.
got
No, no.
my degree. So I have decided I'm gonna listen to audiobooks and like get into the tropes because
I,
once you like understand the tropes, then I feel like you're able
You're
to
consuming. You're still
present.
consuming literature.
Yeah,
You're consuming it in a different way. So that's good.
yeah,
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 steal your
That's good.
inspiration. Don't recreate the wheel.
yeah.
There we
Don't
go.
be
That's
afraid
Yeah,
to do
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Thank
that's my
you so
adjustment.
much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ghost. Thank you so much, Savvy. Thank
Yeah.
all of you. Come see us in our Discord server and have yourselves a magnificent, beautiful, wonderful rest of the weekend.
Yes.
Bye
Bye
bye.
Bye.
bye.